The December 2004 tsunami devastated Sri Lanka, killing more than 35,000 people and destroying 100,000 houses. It was the worst disaster ever for a country used to cyclones, droughts, and coastal erosion. The tsunami was a wake-up call. It forced the government to adopt a roadmap for a safer Sri Lanka, a 10-year plan with more than 100 measures to better manage disasters in the island nation. The first step was to establish a disaster management center in Colombo and in all of the 25 districts of the country, and to set up an efficient early warning system at the national and local level.
Before the tsunami, no agency in Sri Lanka was tasked to give tsunami warnings. Tsunami is a very rare event. But since the tragedy, we have improved the operations of our 20 meteorological stations in Sri Lanka. Because of this, we can now give accurate information about weather events that can cause floods, landslides, and drought.
The Meteorological Center, which will soon be upgraded by the Japanese, is now linked to the 25 disaster district committees in the country. Hambantota was hard hit by the tsunami in 2004. Today, it is a disaster emergency center.
Our center is linked to the Disaster Management Center in Colombo. If there is a tsunami alert, we will immediately receive a warning. As soon as we get the warning, we inform the people at risk. We have installed 11 sirens around the district. One is at the police station and the other one is at the fishing harbor. These are good locations for an effective early warning.
When a warning is issued in Colombo, the police in Hambantota disseminate the message and cars equipped with sirens go around the villages to make sure that people are alerted. With the alarm sounded, people start moving to safer places. The temple has been identified as the safest place in the village. To make sure that people understand the warnings and know what to do, simulation exercises are performed regularly. Many experts still fear that the early warning system might not work if the alarm is sounded at night. But with an early warning system in place in the main areas at risk, there is at least a system that will work. When a tsunami alert was sounded in September 2007, the response was good, but the exercise also identified a number of gaps and challenges that need to be addressed.
I thought it was just an ambulance, so I didn't evacuate.
Here in Hambantota, the disaster emergency team is organizing a hazard mapping exercise in the main school of the village.
This is my house. This is the route I should take if a tsunami alert is given. If a tsunami happens today, I know what to do and where to go to be safer.
All the main disaster team leaders of the community participate in the drill and will play a key role when the alert is given. Hazard mapping exercises are good exercises. They help people identify risks and vulnerabilities. When the mapping exercise is completed, each house owner receives a pink ticket with a number. It will allow the emergency team to locate them. Everybody will move to the temple and register his or her name so people will know who is missing and can immediately be rescued. Other innovative early warning systems have also been implemented against landslides. They are in areas more affected by heavy floods and landslides, like the Ratnapura located in the central hills of Sri Lanka. It is the Tea State area. Here, landslides are a big threat for people who are living and working on the slopes.
We implemented this project in 2007 with the ISDR, UNDP, and the Disaster Management Center. The idea was to build a new real-time model for landslide early warning. We installed a computerized model and 5 automatic gauges in 5 communities to assess the level of rainfall in the Tea States.
During the rainy season, the monk goes to the temple, checks the gauge, which gives him the level of the rainfall. When it is high, he immediately alerts the people who are working in the Tea States by ringing the temple bell, and people start to evacuate to the community center. They usually have 2 hours to go to the shelter with their families. Since the establishment of the roadmap, Considerable efforts have been made to improve the early warning system and the level of preparedness of people living in the tsunami-affected areas. But implementation of the early warning system is uneven throughout Sri Lanka, and more investments are needed to improve its response capacity at the national level. This school has been rebuilt by the UNICEF after the tsunami. Its foundations have been elevated to make it safer. But the main houses along the coast that were badly affected by the tsunami have been abandoned or are still occupied by the same people. There is no visible upgrading of the houses. In October 2005, the government revised the legislation on buffer zones to prevent fishermen from building houses in dangerous places. A clear public policy on rebuilding after a disaster is still needed. Here, a village has been completely rebuilt by UN Habitat, the government of Italy, an Italian NGO, and the Australian Red Cross. More than 218 houses have been rebuilt and given to fishermen who have lost everything after the tsunami. They now have a house and livelihood as they have been trained to be carpenters, plumbers, or builders. The UN Habitat project is a success story, but also an exception. Other mitigation projects have included the construction of water tanks and irrigation measures to improve the livelihood of people after disasters.
We constructed 4 water tanks. This is one of the tanks. Its capacity is 7,000 liters. People in this community use the rainwater for cultivation as well as for drinking. The tank can supply water to 5 families for 4 to 5 months after the rainy season.
IFRC has also developed a couple of projects to improve water drainage in flood-affected communities to reduce the number of landslides. But those initiatives remain experimental projects.
Disaster management is integrated into every little aspect of work that we do, and that's how we're trying to handle it here in Sri Lanka. And I think it's working.
All these mitigation projects have improved the resilience of certain communities, but it is far from being a national reality.
What I see last 3 years in Sri Lanka is that Sri Lanka did a wonderful job in 3 years' time to develop a policy, the act, institutional mechanism like the ministries, DMC, and several other forums at different levels. The things are moving in a slow direction, but in a good direction in my understanding. But as you rightly said, that there are still areas to improve, which we need to strengthen ourselves in the days to come.
The National Platform on DRR, which has been established in Sri Lanka, is another main coordination mechanism at the central level. It will support the government to successfully implement the roadmap. Sri Lanka has already taken a number of positive steps to make the country safer during disasters. There is a plan for reducing the impact of floods, cyclones, droughts, and tsunamis. Many stakeholders have been mobilized at the national and district levels to implement the roadmap. Institutionally, everything is in place to make Sri Lanka a safer place, resilient during disasters. But capacities and resources still remain a big challenge to be able to fully implement the roadmap at the national level.